We are in Kanchipuram, and as you can see, it's a wet day. A wet day here. What we'll do today is we'll take you around, see some of the temples, and show you just the daily life in Kanchipuram. As you can see, it's pretty hectic. There's a lot of bedlam for a small town, so we'll show you guys around. To be fair, it's a little quieter out of town from where we are staying. We are staying right in the heart of the chaos. So it's really nice actually out here. There's a nice pond there. Actually, I didn't want to film too far over there because there's a guy taking a dump, so we'll stay here. But yeah, it's really nice out here. As you can see, there's a beautiful Shiva Lingam behind us. And there are a lot more actually ashrams and quiet little shrines to Shiva out this way. Come on, Kip! Come on, Kipper! Come on, Kip! You'll be alright, Cobber. We're at the Kailashantha temple. It's really majestic, beautiful temple. It kind of reminds me of Mamallapuram, for those who have been to Mamallapuram, or Mahabalipuram, however you want to say it. And on first impressions, though it's probably the quietest temple in town thus far, we've kind of spent a day here exploring a little bit, but we haven't explored this place. It's the least busiest, and it seems as though it's not an active temple. Now what I mean by that is that there's no Brahmins here, and it doesn't seem like there's any pujas, no darshan going on here like in the other temples. It seems as though it's just not active and it's being preserved because of its age, I'm assuming. To give you guys an idea of the erosion at Kailashantha, have a look at Nandi the bull. She's definitely seen better days. And this one over here as well. As you can see, you can kind of make out it's Nandi, but completely worn out. And as you see up there, likewise with Shivaji and Parvati, a little bit on the worn out side, but that's the age of this place. There's just erosion everywhere, which actually makes it much more majestic than a lot of the other temples in town. And this Nandi's lost its beak, as you can see. If you guys understand the symbolism of Nandi and Shiva, you'd think that there's something wrong in this temple, because Nandi appears to be facing away from Shiva, where Nandi is always facing in towards Shiva. Nandi, representation of the mind, turned in on itself, turning into Shiva, the self, the Atman in Sanskrit, the undifferentiated consciousness. So, but here what you see is Nandi is facing away, but it's an illusion, because as you turn around this way, Shivaji's in here. So there's Shiva everywhere here. There's, God alone knows how many Shivas depicted in this temple. And there are loads of Nandis as well.
Artwork is better than what you see nowadays. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Thousands of years old, but they're curvy, even the hands, you see the details.
Yep. And it's still standing.
It's like something that's alive.
Where if we make concrete now, it'll be gone within 100 years. Unless we maintain it.
It's all hand carved.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a machine. Yeah, after thousands of years,
Still intact.
still moving,
Yeah.
still alive.
All along here, you'll see, if you go into any of these nook and crannies, you'll see that there is a little chamber in each section for likely puja and or meditation, likely both. And you see this chamber all up and down every column here. It's quite amazing, and it goes to show the dedication back in the day when this was full of spiritual practitioners. And it was an active temple. As you can see now, it's not quite an active temple. It's more of a tourist attraction. And that's likely because of the state that the temple is in. So I can understand that. But also, I'm sure that a lot of locals would like it to be an active functioning temple. If you go in some of these chambers, on the other side of the temple, you'll find a bunch of actual frescoes in a pretty ordinary state because of their age. As you see there, a lot of that's chipped off. And so it goes to show how colourful everything was back in the day. Which, you know, again goes to show the age of this place. So again, that fresco, from what I can see, it appears to be Shivaji in that one, which again aligns with most of the other temples within town. Look how good this is. Look at these frescoes here. You might not be able to see it, but it's a bit dark. But look how beautiful this is in here. Absolutely amazing. And what's even more mind-blowing is that we're just allowed to come in here and touch them and be around it. Like in some other countries, you'd probably be told, or it would be fenced off. You'd be told to get out and you'd be fenced off. You're not in India. As you can see behind me, there's a lot of restoration going on here, for better or worse. Some of them look good and others have just fallen apart in the restoration process, which, you know, often happens when you're trying to restore something so old. So Dundee's hanging on by the skin of her teeth up there. You wouldn't want to stand under that. And there's another one over here just like that. Okay guys, I got a challenge for you. Look at this bowl. How long do you think that's going to take to carve out of that one rock? How long do you guys think you can do it? That's a challenge to you. No, actually don't do it. It'll take you forever. So the reason it's there, as you see here, there's this spout here. And that's from the inner sanctum. Obviously I can't film in there, not allowed to film inside. But when puja is done on the Shiva Lingam, then all of the ghee, the curd, the milk and the honey will go in here. And then, as you see, another little spout, little hole. And then it goes outside the temple. When you come here, you'll see this jigsaw puzzle of granite everywhere you go. There's a lot of granite used in the south of India for the temples, also a lot of sandstone obviously. And that's why when you go to a lot of the temples, it has a real cooling effect. You feel really cool when you go inside a lot of temples. It's really good for meditation actually. But as you see, in a lot of temples, you'll see a lot of granite floors. And you really got to give it to them back in the day. I mean, they didn't muck around. They didn't muck around with little flat terracotta tiles that you can break with your pinky. They went all the way. Something you can't dig up with a bloody bulldozer. On the outside columns, you'll see a lot of Shiva Lingams missing. This is actually a restoration. As you see, the lingam itself on top of the yoni is new. The yoni is as old as this chamber, but in some of them the lingam is missing, and even the yoni has disappeared as well. As you see in this chamber, you'll see the lingam is completely missing, and also the yoni is gone as well. This is quite fascinating. This is everything still intact. An old lingam, old yoni, and as you can see, age has got the better of it, but it's quite beautiful nevertheless. Very good.
She wants a piece of it too.
I'd love to, huh?
I go.
So I was wrong about Kailashantha temple because I said it wasn't an active temple, but it actually is an active temple. It's just a lot smaller than the other temples here, and it's not as busy for whatever reason. It's one of the more beautiful temples, actually one of the more quiet ones outside of town. Angie, what temple are we at now?
We are at Ulagalanda Perumal Temple.
Ah.
This Tamil language is very difficult to pronounce.
That's a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful temple from the outside. It looks a little bit smaller, so let's go and have a look. I would say architecturally it's probably one of the less impressive temples in the area, but it's got quite a charm to it. It's rustic, very rustic, and sometimes that's a good thing actually. As you see, like in the walls behind me, the sandstone work, it's pretty basic, and even here compared to the Kailashantha temple, pretty basic compared to that, but I love the rustic look actually. Now we are at the front of the Kanchipuram temple. This one's one of the more famous ones in the area. As you can see behind me, it's one of the bigger ones as well. So let's go in and explore. Time to pull those stupid signs down, don't you think? Nobody's doing the mask anymore. That is over. As you can see, there's a lot of people lining up to get into the inner sanctum to get darshan. I don't know if I'll be lining up in that one. This is about one of the only sacred baths that have been taken care of in town. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Hey look, there's even like they got carp in there. Not that you guys can see. There's just carp chilling. No. As you see, the centerpieces are underwater. It's probably more full than what it probably usually is. What did you think of that temple, love?
Oh, it's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Really well organized gardens and sitting areas. And that's where a lot of people come and hang out. Really nice.
Yeah, it's busy, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty busy because it's nice temple. So.
Yeah. We actually got 2 blessing coins from a Brahmin in there, Shivaji coins. So that was kind of a nice touch.
Oh, yeah.
That's India, isn't it?
Always looking after people.
Exactly. Now we are at the Kumarakotam temple, and this temple's a little different than the other temples in the area. As you can see here, instead of Nandi they have the peacock, and just like at the Kapileshwara temple in Chennai, the peacock represents Shiva, and that's who Uma worships. She worships Shiva as the peacock. And it's interesting here, instead of Nandi looking in towards Shiva, we have the peacock, as you see at the front. So there's some different iconography here for sure. Beautiful. Again, you might think it's not as impressive as the other temples because you see just the stones laid out like this, but I really like this rugged style as well. Beautiful. As you can see, this sacred bath hasn't been used in a while, and they usually block them off in towns like this these days. Oh, you? People waiting for prasadam about that time, and in the South traditional on the banana leaf, just how we had breakfast this morning. But if you're not one to consume carbs, then I wouldn't try it. But when in India, always be carb loaded. Another interesting thing in this temple is that inside the inner sanctum they actually worship Shankara. So you don't see that a lot in a lot of temples around here, but it's quite nice to see them paying respect to Shankaracharya. Shri Balaji, Shri Lakshmi, Shri Ganesha, Shri Saraswati, Shri Om Murugan. So I'm giving rose milk a try here in Kanchipuram. I've tried rose faluda before, not a big fan of that one. So let's have a look here and try this one. It's actually a lot better. The rose faluda I've had is too flowery. This is quite good actually. As you can see, we're not in Kanchipuram anymore, we're in Tiruvannamalai. But I just wanted to finish this video to let you know what my thoughts on Kanchipuram. Now, when you first arrive in Kanchipuram, you're going to have an interesting perspective of the place because it's loud, it's noisy, there's a lot of chaos, there's monkeys over here sleeping. And you got to give it time. That's one of the things with India, and I think a lot of people don't do. They don't give a place enough time. They get to the place, they think it's crap from the get-go, and then they leave immediately. I wouldn't do that with Kanchipuram. I'd give it time. Now, the way I like to travel India is a little bit different than other people. I like to get to know the locals. I like to get a feel of the place. And I guess when you're limited with time like other people are, you might just go to Kanchipuram and it might just be for sightseeing. Now, there's nothing wrong with that sort of travel, but if you go to Kanchipuram, I really highly recommend that you go and just go to a tea shop, mingle with the locals, get to know the people. I met some amazing people in Kanchipuram. The locals are wonderful. And that's where you get a real feel of the spirituality and the culture is within the people. The temples are great, don't get me wrong, but you feel it within the people, that ancient tradition. So that's my thoughts on Kanchipuram. I do recommend it, but I would say don't be too quick to judge and don't head for the exit immediately. Take your time, look at the temples. The temples are amazing. You know, the chaos can be a little bit annoying at times, but you can work around that, and actually you get used to it over time anyway. So at the moment we're in Tiruvannamalai, and our next video will be from here. It's been an interesting start to coming back to Tiru, so we'll see you guys next time.